Hello, hello, and welcome. We are 9 little Aussies living in the USA, building a home where we all belong. Where gardens are cultivated, real food is celebrated, agrarian living is reclaimed, where we choose to walk with wonder and faith, eyes wide open to the beauty of life. Where stories and rhyme are a tether that anchor our hearts to the ancient landmarks our fathers have left for our learning, and where all weary souls may find comfort and rest. It is a grand undertaking, perhaps, but a profoundly simple one. I invite you to join us as we reach for the stars with our feet firmly rooted in love and God's good earth. Hi, Chrissy here. Do you want to feed your family nourishing, home-cooked meals, feed them well, but you feel trapped by your budget? Maybe, like me, you've learned about the toxic non-food chemical concoctions that are passed off as ingredients, as real food in our modern diet, and you've learned how to read labels, and you've learned how to identify the 50 different names for MSG alone, and you've come to the conclusion, like me, that you really want to grow your own food so that you know what it is, and so that you can make from scratch meals for your family and nourish them like Granny used to. But you can't grow all of it just yet. Maybe you can't grow any of it. Maybe you can grow a good amount, but there are some things you just haven't got covered yet on the homestead. And you come bang up against the reality of the budget that you have in your hand, the money you have in your pocket to feed your family. Maybe, like me, when you've come to that moment and you know what you want, you've learnt, you've educated yourself, you have gleaned knowledge from people like the Western A. Price Foundation, like the School of Traditional Skills. There are so many good resources out there now. You know what you want. You have the head knowledge, but to be able to put that into practice, to feed your family these good whole meals when you haven't got it all in your back paddock just yet, you think, okay, I'm going to go buy these things. And then the price of grass-fed, grass-finished beef gives you an instant migraine because you know you don't have the cash in your hand that you need. And you have a wave of nausea sweep over you as you walk down the grocery aisle because you know you just don't have enough for the organic cheese and the Amish butter. No matter how much you want it, no matter how much you really want it for your children, the harsh reality is your budget doesn't stretch that far. Well, if that's you, then maybe this video is for you. For years, I have walked down that path as I have learnt more and more and wanted to change what I'm doing for my family and feed them better. But I have been on a tight budget. But here's the exciting thing. In that journey, I have found peace, I have found hope, and there is a way that you can do that. So we are headed to Sam's. I do buy things at Sam's that I either am not growing yet on the homestead, cannot grow for a very long time. I lived in a place of frustration and hopelessness, just kind of waiting, hoping and praying that my grocery budget would increase so that I could get all the things that I felt like I needed, that I knew were good, that I didn't have growing to feed my family. And it used to stress me out so much that I could not get the things that or that I knew were better choices. I think especially, you know, I grew up on the land where most of the food I grew up on came from our property. And then to be in a situation where I was in town and I was living with a increasingly larger and larger family. You know, we kept having these beautiful babies. The Lord was providing us a wonderful family, and the budget just wasn't what I felt like I needed. But after probably many years of living in that space of hopelessness, I learned a couple of really important lessons. And if I can help even just one person to fast track that learning process a little bit, then I would really dearly love to do that and help you skip going through years of heartache that are really unnecessary. Well, I'm back in the car. That was actually a little stressful. I should not have expected to make this video without it being stressful, because that really is the whole point. So when I got to the counter and I scanned all of my items and I put my card in, it declined the payment. And there's that old feeling, I've been there before, that old feeling that of just panic, your stomach drops, and I'm like, what? There should be enough in this card. Why is it declining? Anyway, it turned out that we had forgotten that I was using the wrong card, because we'd had to cancel a card because we'd had someone steal a card, and we had to cancel that one and get another one. And anyway, I had the old one instead of the new one. So we had that whole mess to sort out. I called my husband and blah blah, we got it all sorted. But in that initial moment, I'm like, this is exactly why I'm making this video, because I have been standing there many times actually when the card has declined because there wasn't enough for what was in the trolley, and I've had, or buggy, whatever you guys call it. We call it a shopping trolley. I think it's not called that here. And had to put items back, or then had to scramble and transfer funds, or whatever it is. And it is very, very stressful. It is a feeling of being like a deer in the headlights, and it's just such a vulnerable feeling when that happens, and a feeling of inadequacy. And so I know I have been there many times. But we are going to go home and we're going to look at all of these groceries, and we're going to really talk about it and nut it out. Some of these choices you may question, and if you are a purist, which actually, by the way, I can really relate to being a purist. That is kind of by nature more who I am, but through a process of much refining and suffering and just living through stuff. We all have stuff we've had to live through. I have learnt that is not always best. Okay, we are back home in my kitchen, and I have put all the groceries out here so we can just have a quick look. We're going to go through and talk about it briefly, about what I bought, why I bought it, and how I will be using those things to make meals for my family. Okay, so the goal when I go grocery shopping is to buy the highest quality, most nutrient dense foods that I can with what I have in my hand. So what I end up coming home with may not be the best option on the market. And that's okay, because I have to live within my means. I am not prepared to put groceries on credit cards to get what I want instead of living within my means. I do use a credit card sometimes, but that's like I'm going to use it and then pay it off straight away. As long as I can do that, I'm okay with using it, but not just racking up debt for the sake of organic cheese. Now, I am not in any way dissing on organic or on buying the best of the best. If that was something that I could do, I had the means to do, I would be doing it. I mean, ideally, I would like to be growing a lot of this. I would like to have beef cows out in the paddock that we could grow the way we want and slaughter. We're just not there yet. It's on the vision board, it's on the plan, but we're not there yet. And so instead of stressing about that, it's just about making the best choice I can with what I have available to me. And it might not be my ultimate choice, but one thing I have learned, and I think this is just so key, is learning to accept where you are, choosing joy and gratitude right where you are, and working towards something better. Okay, so some of these things I only buy during certain seasons. For example, I have carrots in the garden. They're not ready to harvest just yet. And so I have bought this bag. Sam's does not always have organic carrots. I don't always get organic carrots, but on this occasion I was able to. The same with the squash. They don't always have organic squash. If it was an unreasonable price, I wouldn't get it. These are things I grow in my garden, the peppers also, but I don't have them right now. The bananas, they have organic, and sometimes just depends how much I've got to spend that week. There is a price difference. Today I was able to get organic bananas. Sometimes I choose to get the ones that are not organic because they are a bit cheaper. So it just depends what's available. Also, I didn't buy, or the only greens I bought are the squash, because the zucchinis, my zucchinis are not producing yet. So I didn't have any in the garden just yet. I do have, and I picked up a bag of Brussels sprouts, and then I put them back because I remembered I have Swiss chard, otherwise known as silver beet, growing in the garden, and I can use that. I also have turnip greens, so I will use those. Mushrooms I don't grow. I'd like to, but I don't grow, so I got those. Now in the dairy department, I got sour cream. This cheese, this took me a while to figure this out, this is Asadero, and it really is very similar to mozzarella. Someone out there might know if it in fact is the same thing under a Spanish or a Mexican name. I'm not sure, but it has very basic ingredients, and it, to me, the taste and texture is very similar to mozzarella. We used to buy mozzarella in a big block like this at Sam's, and then they stopped selling it. I buy block cheese because I want to avoid the anti-caking agents that are in pre-grated cheese. Then I can grate it at home, or I can slice it, or whatever we need. Cream we are getting today, even though we have a cow, she is holding back a lot of her cream for that calf. So I had a need for some extra cream. Our son is making ice cream. He's making ice cream for a homeschool makers market that we're going to, so we needed extra cream, more than we have. The same with the butter. Like, we do have a cow and we're getting gallons of milk, lots of milk, but I'm not getting enough cream really to make butter. You need quite a lot of cream to do that, or to have enough cream to make things like ice cream. So sometimes I do buy extra cream. Sour cream, same thing. These are cream products, which I'm just not getting enough cream right now. We could choose to just not have that. Now, mozzarella is on my list. Cheese making is on my list of things I'm trying to learn how to do myself. But until then, I'm not quite there yet. So that's okay. I'm going to buy the Sam's cheese. Now, these are not what you would call a health food at all. But this is me making it's not the best choice, but it is a better choice than what I could. I've gone with this brand instead of the other brand that was available. It has less ingredients. It doesn't have the hydrogenated soybean oil that the other brands do. And the reality is, there are times when it's kind of like my fast food, but I don't want to buy fast food. So a couple of things actually in this shop fit that bill. So I have several adult and almost adult children in the family who come and go and have a lot of different things and activities going on, and they want food at random hours. And I want them to have good food. So one quick easy snack for the older kids is to get we call these wraps in Australia, but here they're called tortillas. So we get a wrap or a tortilla, and this is my version of fast food, is I buy a rotisserie chicken, otherwise known as a hot chook, and they can get some chicken, a wrap, a bit of salad, some cheese or some mayo, and make a quick, healthy snack. Now, would this be better if I made it from scratch? Yes, 100%. 100%. That would be a better option. But I also know that my older boys are not always going to wait for me to have the time to go mill the flour and then make the tortilla. They want something then, and sometimes they want it at 11 o'clock at night. So this is them being able to have access, and the rest of us, when we're in a pinch, we don't eat these all the time, but this is my version of fast food, is having things like this available that we can make up quickly without having to turn the oven on, which obviously is a better choice when we can do that. This mincemeat, I buy the 90-10 because I've tried the 80-20, which is a tiny bit cheaper, but it is just so fatty. And so this is $56.78, And I will turn, now we do have a large-ish family, I will turn this into at least 3 meals. At a pinch, I could turn it into 4. I just divide it up and put it in freezer bags in the freezer. I can make it stretch with rice or potatoes. I can make it stretch by turning it into a soup, something like that. The same with the turkey mince, lamb, and I always, whenever I'm looking at meats and making a decision, I'm looking at the per pound price, the unit price right here. So this has gone up so much. This was about $4 something a pound when we first came 3 years ago, and now it's $7.48. The same with this. This is $5.86 a pound. These are still 2 of the cheapest forms of red meat that I can find here in my local area, but this used to be $3 a pound. And when budget allows, I will buy this one, which is organic. It's grass-fed and grass-finished, but it is a bit more expensive. So it's $6.18 a pound. So it just depends, and honestly it varies from week to week. Sometimes I can get this and sometimes I can't, and I need to make this choice. The sausages are, again, this is usually just either I'm using a few of these to add some protein to a bigger meal like a stir fry. I like to get this one when I can because it doesn't have nitrates and fillers. It's cleaner than a lot of the other ones. And this one is just a favorite with my boys, and it is somewhat cheaper than this one. But again, this is me wanting to provide food that my teenage and adult boys will like. They can make things, they come in and make things from scratch in the kitchen, but they are far more likely to cook themselves a meal rather than eat McDonald's if I have some of these base ingredients available, even if it is store-bought tortillas and sausages like this. But then they can put it together and make a meal. Generally speaking, I avoid most pork. Now, on the plan is one day we hope to have our own pigs here on our little homestead and raise them on good food and with good practices that we're comfortable with. That's not something we have just yet. So rather than eating a lot of pork, even though it's tempting because it is a lot cheaper, I just can't really bring myself to do it because I know how that pork has been raised. However, there is a caveat, and that is that the one thing I do buy is bacon. My husband and my family love bacon, so we buy it and use it sparingly. The other thing is honey. When I can, I like to get this from a local beekeeper, but it's a lot of money up front. It's like $200 or something for a 5-gallon bucket, and it's excellent, but sometimes I don't have that bandwidth in my budget. So that's when I use the Sam's honey. This is kind of a middle of the road. It's raw, it's unfiltered, but it's not organic. The organic one's just a little bit too pricey for me, but at least this one is a step in the right direction. The nuts are another whole food that I buy. Walnuts, sometimes I get almonds, buy them in a big bag like this, and then I can divvy them out in smaller amounts for snacks. If the kids and I are going to a homeschool outing or whatever, we can put that with maybe some raisins and some cheese and make a healthy snack. Actually, that just reminds me of something else I wanted to mention. There's a couple of things I didn't get today, but are usually staples that we get from Sam's. I just want to show you. One is raisins, because I use it in baking. We can add it to cakes and cookies and things. In Australia, I would have bought sultanas, but you can't really seem to get them here. And these are very similar. And rolled oats. We use that for porridge, for bircher muesli, I make Anzac bickies, or the peanut honey slice that I make. There's a lot of things we use it for, and it comes in this nice whole foods. Now, one thing, I was going to get a box today, but all they had was, this is the whole rolled oat. All they had today was the quick oats, which is really like dusty and tiny little pieces rather than the whole oat, so I didn't get it. And avocado oil is another one that I get that is a good fat, and I already had some, so I didn't buy any today. But also coconut oil. Sam's does have an organic virgin cold pressed unrefined coconut oil, which is a really good fat source. So I do render down beef tallow and lard and use those whenever I can, but these are just some other good fat sources that I use regularly. Okay, but I want to get to the crux of the matter, which is you can shop the aisles, kind of like you may have heard advice on shopping the aisles to buy whole foods for your family. And I basically use that principle, I guess, at Sam's. I use what I can out of the garden when I have it growing. I do my best to make wise choices so that I'm feeding my family whole foods, but I'm also not going to stress it, because we really have two options in life. We don't always have control over our finances. Now, we can always be making steps and having wisdom to walk forward with good financial choices, and that's important and that's good. But we don't always have total control over the circumstances we are in. You may have extenuating circumstances that make it really difficult for you financially. The biggest lesson for me has been learning that just as important as feeding my family, my loved ones, my people, good, nourishing foods, what I put in their belly, just as important as that is, it's not more important than the atmosphere of our home. What they need more than anything is a peaceful home, and a home where their parents are choosing to walk in faith, not fear. And they need a mama who is not stressing out over, oh my goodness, this carrot's not organic. I didn't grow it. I had to buy it, or whatever it is that is bothering you. It is more important that they have a peaceful home. And that means we have to let go of some of the perfection that we might be seeking. And in the crunchy world where we are trying to live a healthier life, trying to make better choices, trying to walk away from some of this modern way of living that is destructive. Like it truly is not good. It's good to learn and to walk away from that and to make better choices. But if we do that at the cost of peace in our homes, and if we choose to allow our hearts to get all tied up in fear and anxiety, that's actually going to be even worse for our family, health-wise, even just health-wise, than having a heart full of joy and gratitude and eating subpar nutrition. And maybe not everyone's going to agree with that, but that is 100% what I believe. If we choose to live in a place of anxiety and fear because we are unable to do all the things that we think we should be or that we've been told we should be, it's actually going to harm your health, not help it. So as for what I will do with all this, we will, really I try to think about, I need a protein, I need some good healthy vegetables, some good fats, and put it together. I don't generally tend to meal plan. Sometimes I do, but I'm more inclined to just try to make sure I have some kind of meat. And then I look and see what's available, what I have in the garden, what I have in the fridge, what I've been able to get at a good price, and put something together from that. So this lamb I will probably do as a roast, and put it in a tray with a bunch of veggies, maybe some potatoes, onions around it, and roast it. This mincemeat, or ground beef as you guys call it, will be spaghetti, or it might be tacos, or it might be the other night I made beef gyros, or am I saying that right? It's kind of like Greek. They're kind of like burritos, but they're Greek, not Mexican. So they have, like, I made a tzatziki sauce, which was delicious. So mince, or I might make mince patties and do burgers. It's so versatile and very easy to sort of just quickly come up with a meal, and it doesn't take too long to defrost. That's the other really good thing about it. And the same with, like, this is a form of mincemeat, the ground turkey. So same applies with that. Also really good to spread this out by doing like a fried rice, or a casserole where you can mix it in with, maybe make a basic cheese sauce. The other day I made a recipe that was just like, and I didn't have a lot of ground beef. I just had enough, just a little bit. So I sauteed an onion, browned the beef, and put it in a skillet. And then I added whatever veggies I had. I think I had some cabbage and that was cooked and left over from the night before, some mushrooms. And then I had, we've got a lot of eggs right now. So whisked up a bunch of eggs with a little bit of yogurt that I'd made from our milk, and some seasoning, and sort of poured that over the top. Oh, and some cheese. I think I put cheese in it, and stick it in the oven. So it's kind of like a baked egg with meat, kind of a frittata, but not really. Anyway, that was delicious, and that's a good way to use just a little bit of meat and make it go further. So my goal is to make my home a haven, a safe place, a fortress, a place of peace, and a place of joy. And yes, you will find homemade from scratch meals. If you come visit me, I will probably boil the kettle, make you a cup of tea, and serve you homemade bread and homemade cookies. And for dinner, we will be having meat and veggies mostly. Don't stress about it if you can't get the organic cheese or the Amish butter, which is really delicious, by the way. And I do love to get it when I can. Maybe one day we will have enough cream to make all of our butter. Maybe one day we will have bandwidth in our budget to buy the Amish butter all the time for all the things. I don't know. Maybe we will, maybe we won't. But regardless, I am going to choose to live with joy. I'm going to choose to live with gratitude and peace. I am going to hug my babies. I am going to stand cooking home cooked meals, and I am going to choose actively to let go of the anxiety and the stress that comes when you feel like you cannot make it, when you feel like your budget's not good enough, or you don't have all the things that you think you're supposed to have. Just know that when you choose to live on purpose in a way that is grateful and using discernment, using wisdom to make the best choice you can with what you have in your hands, that's enough. It really is enough. I do hope this has been an encouragement to somebody out there who maybe was like the younger me, who was stressing all the time about not doing it properly, not having, being inadequate, not having all the things that I thought I should have, not being perfectly healthy in my choices. This is your permission to relax. Breathe deeply, buy the best you can with what you have, love your people well, and on purpose, intentionally, create a home that is a safe and beautiful and peaceful place to be. And that will make up for a whole lot. All right, people, thank you so much for being here. Let me know your thoughts. Love to hear from you. and I will see you again next time. Sunshine and raindrops. Until then.